guys, what's up? This is Jonathan Overstreet. This is Potholes to Paved Roads. Man, another pretty day in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Man, I mean, we couldn't ask for better weather than this. Oh man, been a little rainy lately. I know I was complaining about the rain the other day, but man, when that rain goes away, it is absolutely beautiful out here. So what's the topic for today? What we gonna talk about? All right, here's what I'd love to talk about for a few minutes today. I know I'm not the only one, but when it comes to look, I gotta make a confession now. I'm 100% not a sports fan. I've never been a sports guy. I couldn't even name every NFL team if you paid me. I couldn't name every NBA team if you paid me. I've still yet to understand the two divisions of baseball, like the American something and the National something or whatever. I don't know. I don't understand all that stuff. It's just too complicated, and baseball plays way too many games every year. But I will say this, the one sport that I've always had a fascination with. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not head over heels for this sport. I don't pay money for pay-per-views and stuff because I'm cheap. But I really enjoy UFC, and I love the reruns of the UFC stuff they play on, used to play it on Spike TV. They play it in different places now, but I do enjoy that. I love UFC stuff. And one thing I've always admired is I don't know why, it's just in my DNA. I always cheer for the underdog. I always have. That's why people like Anderson Silva, one of the greatest, possibly one of the greatest fighters of all time, is one of my least favorite people to watch fight of all time. And actually, I take it back. I like to watch because I was so ready for somebody to knock his cocky butt out. And when Chris Weidman came along and knocked out Anderson Silva because Anderson, like always, was being cocky and showing out, that is when I liked a UFC fight, or that is when I liked an Anderson Silva fight. Because I've never been a fan of cocky people. I do not like cocky fighters. Can't stand it. Drives me nuts. Because, I mean, if you're that talented and you spent that much time and that much effort into getting into the best shape of your life and learned how to fight, learn how to play defense, learn how to be offensive when it comes to the way you fight. You've done all that, and then you're just going to waste everything on cockiness because you lose so much respect from people like me when you do that. I'm not a huge fan of cocky people, and I never have been. When it comes to just about any sport, but especially MMA, especially Ultimate Fighting. These guys, oh man, you know what? There's another guy out there who I was so on the fence for, and that was John Jones. I was so ready for him to lose a match. I mean, come on, you gotta lose sometime, man. But Johnny Bones Jones never seemed to lose. The guy was absolutely fantastic. Wonderful fighter. But that's the story of my life. I've always been an underdog. I've always been an underdog. I came from a lower middle class background. My mom and dad didn't make a whole lot of money. We didn't save very much money. And we borrowed money quite a bit. But so that's the background I came from with money, and man, I refused to live my whole life that way. So I'm definitely on track and making huge changes that are going to change the legacy of my family. So why do I like underdog stories so much? Why? I mean, it resonates with me because, man, I am a natural born underdog. I've been an underdog for my entire life. I remember being a kid. Man, I had a friend who, behind closed doors, this guy was like my best friend in the world growing up. All through elementary school, into junior high school a little bit. He was my buddy. We were friends. But every single time we got in public, this guy would pick a fight with me. And I'm talking, he would beat the dog out of me. I'm talking, he would whoop me every single time. And that was a real, that really messed with my mind. I didn't understand that growing up. I thought, are all friends like this? Is this how friendship is? Whenever we're in private, we're one way, and then when we're in public, we're fighting? I don't understand that. I don't mean just arguing, I mean fist fighting, guys. I never understood that. That messed with my mind so bad because he was one of my closest friends, but then I had another friend who, through thick and thin, me and this guy were always friends. It didn't matter if we were in public or in private. Me and this other guy were super good friends. And he stayed my friend. Actually, we were friends. The guy that was always my friend, even in public, we were friends in elementary school. Before elementary school, daycare, man. I'm talking all the way. He left for 1 year to go to this special school in Louisiana. I missed him like absolute crazy. I mean, I missed my buddy. He was my friend. He always was. Me and him kind of lost touch now, but for the longest time, we were buddies. But going back to the other guy would whoop me up all the time. I mean, all the time. And I didn't really understand it. It never made sense to me. Why did he treat me that way? And I think part of the reason is because there was nobody else he could beat up. I mean, I think he was beating up on me because there was nobody else that would stand for that. And finally, one day, something clicked in my spirit, something clicked in my mind, and I thought, you know what, if I don't stand up for myself, this guy's going to do this for the rest of our lives. He's going to do this to me, and he's going to think it's okay to do this to me. And one day, guys, something in my spirit just rose up, man, and I felt a courage I've never felt before. Don't get me wrong, man, I had tears in my eyes, and I've never been a fighter type guy. And man, dude, I went outside, picked a fight with him, and I beat the crap out of this kid in my front yard. And I'll never forget, his mother came out and said, hey, don't you think you should apologize to Jonathan? And my mom looked over at his mom and said, well, maybe he should apologize to your son for whooping his butt. And man, what a good day. I mean, what a victory. I felt like such a relief. And look, I'm not condoning violence. I'm not saying violence is always the answer. But dude, I tell you what, in that situation it was, because he never, ever picked a fight with me ever again. So he beat me probably 13, 15, 20 times, and I beat him once. And that one time was all it took. Because, man, I got to a point where I just couldn't take any more of his crap. And I stood up for myself. And, guys, that's what I'm talking about. When it comes to my finances, I got so tired of feeling beat down. But a lot of the reason is for stupid decisions me and my family were making. We got tired of it, man. We're rising up and we're going to kick these finances in the butt, man. I refuse to live my life this way. I'm going to stand up, man. When I retire, I'm going to have some stinking money. I'm going to be able to go on trips. I'm going to be able to buy my kids things. I'm going to be able to buy my wife things. I'm going to have to be able to go on vacations. Man, there's nothing we're not going to be able to do. And it's all because of the courage that's inside of us, the courage that's rose up inside of us. I'm not going to take it anymore, and you shouldn't either. All right, so let's backtrack just a little bit and talk about, like, my mentality on where I've come from as a young person, as a child, up to where I'm at now in my life. I'm 37 right now. I'll be 38 in September, and what I wanted to say was, my whole life, man, I've been. My parents have always told me I've had the worst luck. I'm telling you, I think my theme song should have been the song by Albert King called Born Under a Bad Sign, because, I mean, if it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck at all. That's been my mentality. I mean, and my motto for the longest time has been like, you win some, you lose most. I mean, that's absolutely true in my life. I've been robbed so many times. I've been... one night when I used to work for Burger King, before I became a store manager, I used to work nights and evenings a lot, and I absolutely loved working in the evening. I don't know what it was. I'm just kind of a night owl anyway, I guess, or at least I was then. Now, I mean, I'm not now, but back then, one night leaving Burger King, I went to close my door. I was getting in to leave, and I closed up the store, locked up. I was all by myself, went to close the door to leave, and I felt something pull on the door. Well, it pulled so hard that I almost fell out of the car. And all I know is the next thing I remember, I woke up at my house. It turns out I had gotten jumped and got beat very badly, and I got a concussion. And so I guess, even though I haven't done sports or anything else, I can say I guess I've had a concussion before, which was not very fun. And so I woke up at my house the next day, and that's just been kind of the way things have went for me. I've had bad luck a lot. Now, some of it is because of my own stupid decisions. Now, let me say this. With money, I keep telling you guys that we're going to get on track. We're getting there. We're making strides in the right direction. But starting next week, I'm going to start telling you a little bit about what I'm doing. I'm going to get a little bit more specific. And I told you guys at the beginning of starting this podcast, I love talking about money. And I'm going to talk about Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps. I'm trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to do it as far as breaking them up into a few episodes. But I'm going to talk about his 7 baby steps. And I'm going to give you guys a real game plan of where to go. I don't want to be just completely vague. I don't want to be just telling you guys, hey, I'm getting out of debt and you should too. How do you know? You don't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. It's overwhelming. When you really sit down and look at how much debt you have, it is very, very scary. And it's very overwhelming. Do you know most people in America today have no idea how much money that they owe? They have no clue. They've got their head in the sand, or they don't care, or they're running from bill collectors. They're running from all these collection agencies. But when you really get down to the nitty-gritty and you get down and you open up your finances and you look with a fine-tooth comb, you go through that thing with a microscope. You put a microscope on it, a magnifying glass. You get down and you look really close at what you're doing. It'll scare you half to death. At least it did us. And we're getting out, guys. And I've been an underdog my whole life, but this season of life that I'm in right now, I'm not an underdog anymore. I'm not a cocky fighter either. Don't get me wrong. I might be a little cocky sometimes with my friends when I'm goofing around, when I'm just joking, but that's just part of my personality sometimes. I like to kid around. I like to have fun. But I'm definitely anything but cocky. So a few years ago, actually a couple years back, I used to preach a little bit with the ministry that I was involved in, and leading worship at a church. Every now and then they'd have me preach. And I told you guys I wouldn't get real preachy, and I'm not going to, but I will say this. I started studying names. There's a lot that can be said about names. And whether you want to admit it or not, your parents might have not looked to see what your name means, but it's still powerful to know what your name means. Now, the name Jonathan means gift from God. That means gift from God. My brother, his name is Justin, and his name means justice. And so I was looking at names, right? And I looked at my middle name. Now, guys, I've got kind of an old school middle name. Most of the firstborn sons in my family for the last couple of generations have had the same middle name, and that middle name is Everett. And there's been several different spellings we have in the family as far as how to spell it. We've spelled it several different ways, but that's still the name. It's Everett. Almost all the firstborn sons have that same middle name, Everett. Well, I looked up what the name Everett means. It like to stinking knock me out of the chair. I had no idea what that name meant. I look it up, and the name Everett means brave as a wild boar. What does that mean? Brave as a wild boar. And then here I am going, God, brave as a wild boar? Why would... If you only knew how not brave I was. I mean, goodness gracious, I'm not brave at all. I'm about one of the least brave people I've ever met. I mean, come on, I'm not brave. I am not a brave person. But that's my name. Jonathan, which means gift from God. Everett, which means brave as a wild boar. Now that's crazy. But you know what? In this season of life, I am brave. I am strong. I am courageous. You know why? Because I chose to be. my family, we chose to be brave. We chose to stand up. With all this coronavirus stuff going around and all these crazy times we're living in, I refuse to be scared. We're going to be brave. Alright, so how are we going to wrap this up? Here's how we're going to wrap this up. So, last thing I want to say about this subject for today is this. I don't believe I've ever heard anybody say this before. I don't know if this is original. Of course, technically, I don't think anything we actually come up with is really original. Bible says there's nothing new under the sun. But I will say this. Bravery, I think, comes in spurts. Because if you catch me on the wrong day, I'm not a very brave person. But if you catch me when my mind is right and I'm focused, like Chris Hogan says, I'm focused and not finished. If you catch me on that day, I am brave. So in other words, not every situation that comes our way and hits us in the face, we're not always brave, guys. We're not always going to make the right decision. But if you can stay focused, keep your mind focused on what you want to get done, and that's where it all starts, guys. It starts in your mind. If me and my wife hadn't made up our mind to change our lives, we'd still be the same old people. But because we chose, because we made a decision, because it started in our mind, it started in our brain, because we clicked that switch and said, you know what, I'm not going to take this anymore. I'm not going to stand for this. I'm not going to sit around while banks and everybody else make money off of me. And my family, we're busting our backs. We're busting our butts here. I'm not going to sit around and let other people take what I've worked so hard for. It's a decision. When you make that decision, when you make that choice, it's free will, guys. It's a choice. You know, one of my favorite musicians in the entire world is Tom Petty. He passed away not too long back. You know, God rest his soul, but Tom Petty. I know what you're thinking. Oh my God, this guy used to be a worship leader and he don't even listen to Christian music? But seriously, guys, I don't always listen to Christian music. But Tom Petty has been one of my absolute favorite musicians for as long as I can remember. I love Jimi Hendrix. Don't get me wrong. If I'm in a certain mood, I love to listen to Hendrix. Hendrix is, far and away probably one of the greatest of all time. For sure, one of the greatest ever. But when it comes to Tom Petty, I just relax and listen to his music. I absolutely love it. And it's like a song he had called I Won't Back Down. I won't be turned around. You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. And that's the stand we've made. That's the stand me and my wife have made. You could stand us up, bring controversy our way, slap us in the face with adversity. I don't care. We're not going to back down. We're standing strong. So when that pothole of complacency comes your way, man, you grab the wheel and you swerve around that thing as fast as you can. And know that something better is on the other side. I'm Jonathan Overstreet. This is Potholes to Paved Roads.